Hello everyone, welcome to KTK Tech. This is the first session on the Kubernetes. In the previous session, we have discussed what is Docker and how to run the containers using the Docker. We have also seen Docker Swarm and related to some Docker topics. So this session, it will help you to understand what is Kubernetes, why we need Kubernetes, and how to quick start with Kubernetes. To start with the Kubernetes, initially, what are the softwares you require to practice the Kubernetes? The first thing you required Docker desktop. You have to install the Docker desktop, and with that, you will get. So to start with the Kubernetes, you need Docker desktop. When you this is the Docker desktop you can see, and here Docker engine is running, and also you see Kubernetes also it's running. So if it is by default, once you install the Docker desktop, Kubernetes will may not be enabled by default. If you want to enable, you can go to the settings, and here you will find Kubernetes option, and you can enable the Kubernetes. Once you enable, it should be running, and there will be default images will be running. These things you no need to worry. This is as part of Kubernetes because we have integrated our Docker with the Kubernetes. So that's the reason you are able to see these are the images. So now coming to the point, once we install the Docker desktop and once the Kubernetes is running, now it is a time to understand what is Kubernetes and why we required Kubernetes. So before going to with the definition of the Kubernetes, I just wanted to explain regarding the microservice application. So what is this microservice application? Why we need this microservice application? So if you consider any real-time applications, it may be like Amazon, your shopping application or anything, you consider the shopping application itself. So where if you take any application, there will not be a single module. There will be multiple modules will be there. So combination of multiple modules will become one huge, large enterprise application, I can say. So any application, take a what are the example of modules can be there in the application. You can say one application, it may be, it can have front end. That means the front end in Angular or any JavaScript or any web applications or React JS. Using those technology, you might have implemented the front end application, front end module, and you will be having the backend code also. That is one separate module. And maybe some example like catalog services you have, authentication service you have, and payment service, and you have the logging service. So these are the simple examples of module. But when you combine all these piece of modules, when you join each and every modules, and it will become a shopping application. So shopping application, it consists of different modules and different piece of modules. One module can be worked by one team. Like for example, front end can be worked by one team, back end can be worked by one team, a logging service one team, payment services one team. Each modules will be having independently work together. And whenever the changes any developer wants to push, each team will be working on the each module, right? So they will be pushing and doing the patching and all independently. So all these small modules, what we call it as small applications, we can also call small services. The end of the day, what we call for these all modules, we can call it as a microservices. So that is why this shopping application, what I'm giving an example, this is a microservice application. That means in the shopping application, we have multiple microservices. So that means more than two services we are integrating each other. So those services we call it as a microservices. Consider the application which is having huge number of microservices. Okay, so when you have the each huge number of services, then the maintenance of these microservices is headache for us. So you have to maintain front end if you want to push front end, and you need to see like deploy the backend application. And once the backend service is down, other services will go down. If the catalog service is down, others are catalog services down, other application, other microservice applications will not work. Hence, your shopping application will not work. So these all small modules, we can call it as a microservices, and managing of these microservices is very important. So to manage these microservices, we are bringing a topic as Kubernetes. The Kubernetes is the key role to manage these microservices. How Kubernetes will manage these microservices? So these microservices we are going to run as a containers. That means front end is one container, front end is one container, back end is one container, catalog service is one container, logging service is one container, payment service is one container, and authentication service is another container. So these all are containers, and Kubernetes, what it will do, it will manage all these microservice containers. So that is why we are bringing this Kubernetes. So what is the definition of the Kubernetes? It's an application orchestrator. So what is the meaning of the orchestrator? This is a very important word. It comes in a Kubernetes, that is orchestrator. What is this orchestrates? Orchestrates the containerized cloud native microservices application. That means it is specialized independent parts that work together. Already we have seen how the microservice app, that means shopping app, it works, which will be having the multiple small piece of modules, we call it as a microservices. So these containers can be managed using the Kubernetes. So orchestrator word is very important here. What is the meaning of orchestrator? Means it manages the application or Kubernetes, or you can consider it as a Kubernetes software. It manages all these microservices. It manages all these containers. That means orchestrates. That means manages the containers. So we call it as a Kubernetes. Kubernetes is an application orchestrator. That means it will manage as your shopping application, which is consist of multiple microservices. Or we can also call the shopping app which is having multiple containers. Those containers are managed by Kubernetes. So now what is the meaning of managed? Why we are calling it as a managed? Right, that we will see in the next slide. So the application, the shopping application, I have given a best example, like it will be having the multiple containers or multiple modules or small modules: web front end, catalog service, shopping cart, authentication service, logging, and all. Each individual having these individual services, we call it as a microservices. Each is coded, that means the typically each is coded by different development team, and it have its own release cycle. So what is when you say managing the, when you say managing any application or shopping application only you can take, what is this managing means? It should, the Kubernetes can manage your application, in the sense the meaning is Kubernetes can deploy your application, it can scale it up and scale it down to dynamically based upon the demand. If the demand of your shopping application is more, then it will scale up, and if it is demand is low, it will scale it down. So self heal it when things are break. So that means whenever your shopping application or any microservices inside your shopping application is down, then it will automatically heal it. So it will automatically make it up. So that is self heal when things break. So perform zero downtime, rolling updates and rolling rollback, etc. So another very important aspect of this Kubernetes is it performs the zero downtime. If you consider the olden days where your application used to go down in midnight and all, based upon the load of the application or some other reasons, application may go down. But Kubernetes, it will make things in a better way. Whenever the application is down, automatically it will roll back to the previous version, or it will, if the application is down or any microservice is down, automatically your Kubernetes will take care. It will make your application or microservices, it will come up. So you no need to worry, and you no need to go and manually make it up your application. That is the another beauty of the Kubernetes. If you come to the olden days, how Kubernetes came into picture is so in olden days, like AWS changed the world when brought it up with a modern cloud computing. There was a AWS came into picture using this modern cloud computing thing. So there was a competition between AWS and Google were trying to catch up with the AWS. So Google also it has a very good experience with the containers and scale. So the Google, the name Google, we are listening from so many years, right? So it already had a Google search engine and Gmail. So the if you just imagine the Google is managing or it is having the data of entire world data it is having, right? Each and everyone is having their Gmail accounts, and each whatever you search in a Google, it will give the results. So it will be huge search engine, right? So Google will be having it requires so many microservices, like huge number of microservices it requires, a huge number of small applications Google is required, because it has to manage the world data and example of search engine and any Gmail services and all. So it used to having the a lot of containers. So managing these containers, it is very hectic for even Google also. So orchestrate and managing those huge number of containers for Google also, it is very difficult. So what Google it brought it up is it had proprietary technologies called Bog and Omega. So it had there is internal team, they used to work with these all these microservices to manage the search engine and Gmail accounts of individuals. So it to manage those containers, they internally they developed one technology like it called Borg and Omega. So then what Google did is it took a lesson learned from these old technologies, Borg and Omega, and they created a new platform called K8s. Why we are calling K8s? It is K8s is nothing but it is a Kubernetes. Why we are calling K8s for Kubernetes? It is 8 characters will come in between K and S. So Google took a lesson and it learned, and to manage the containers, it thought that it is required a new platform. So they are not rewritten completely Bog and Omega. They introduced by using this knowledge, they introduced the new technology, created a new platform. They created a new platform called K8s. So, what is this Docker and Kubernetes? Docker and Kubernetes, what is the difference between this Docker? Already in the previous session, I explained Docker Swarm, how containers we create using the Docker, and what is the difference between the Docker Swarm and Kubernetes. We can go through that video as well. So, what is the difference between this Docker and Kubernetes? I'm sorry, there is a spelling mistake in Docker in the header. You can please ignore that. So Docker and Kubernetes, if you compare both two, right? So Docker is required to run your uh, application into an image. That means you will be having a source code, maybe in the .NET or Java. So what Docker will do, it will take your source code using the Docker file, using Docker software. It will create it as an image. So so that image is created by using this Docker. Okay, so consider there will be multiple images can be created using a Docker. Now, what is a Kubernetes? The Kubernetes, what it will do, it will take that particular image and it will run that image into container. So, and also once it ran, the Kubernetes, it will take care the managing the containers. It should be always, it should up, it should scale up and scale down. So everything, the Kubernetes will take care. So up to creation of image, it's a Docker work. And after that, managing all those images, taking that image and running a containers and managing those containers is a job of Kubernetes. In short, this is the best thing is in short, development team uses Docker to build images. That means development uh, team uses the Docker to build images, and operations team can Kubernetes to run them and manage them. So one of the best example I can give for Kubernetes as it is an operating system of the cloud. It's an operation system of the cloud. Kubernetes is an operating system. Say, what are the operating systems we know? Like the popular operating systems, right? We have Windows and Linux. So you can just compare Kubernetes with your operating system. So operating system in any application, if you run in your operating system, whether in Windows or Linux, what you will do, you no need to worry about your application to run in a Windows. Say, for example, you are installing any example Notepad plus plus or any software you are trying to run your application in your operating system. You no need to worry how much CPU you have to allocate to that, how much memory is required. Whenever you are saving the data into your desktop application, where it will store, how much RAM I need to allocate it. So we no need to worry about it, right? Your operating system will take care. Once the application is running, your operating system will it will just make the process is on and your task will be running in a Windows system. That operating system will take care. You just install it, that's all. Your operating system will take care how to run it. The same way, Kubernetes is an operating system of the cloud. So Kubernetes will be running in a cloud. So whenever you are installing the application, that means whenever you are running your image as a container, so that's all. So remaining things, the Kubernetes will take care. You no need to worry about how the container will run and whether it is on, it is running or it is down or based upon the demand, whether it going up or down. So that you no need to care, that Kubernetes will care. So that's why we call it Kubernetes. We call it as it's an operating system of the cloud. So it's a best example or best thing to relate your Kubernetes with your internal your system operating system. The how your operating system takes care in your desktop, the same way your Kubernetes also takes care the containers to run and manage the containers. It's a one of the best example I can say for Kubernetes operating system to understand in a better way. So that's all about the today's quick start with the Kubernetes. We will see in next upcoming sessions. We'll try to understand how practically what uh, how to run the application and all practically we will see in the upcoming sessions. Thank you.